Hi all, good afternoon, good afternoon. Sorry we're running just a minute behind. Come on in, get comfortable, get your lunch. Welcome. Thanks for spending another lunch hour with us. We are really excited about this year's I Love My Park Day event. It is our 15th year. And then for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rebecca Murray. I'm the Engagement and Program Manager, and I've been helping Shayna and John manage this event for the last couple of years. I'm joined by John today. Shayna's on the road. John Duda, our grants manager. You should all be very familiar with John. And Rachel Wack is here too. She's our Arthur Savage intern and really has been instrumental in helping field a lot of the questions, comments that have flooded in from volunteers and hosts. But really excited. This is shaping up to be a really amazing year, as you'll see later when I share some updates about how we're doing. So with that, if you joined the first webinar, John, we can advance to the agenda now. If you shared or joined us for the first webinar, a lot of this information is going to be a refresher, but more exciting though is that we're joined by Anita O'Brien, who's with Rochester Accessible Adventures. She's going to have the floor for about 20 or 30 minutes with an opportunity for Q&A to share some tips with us on how we can make our events more inclusive and accessible. Today, honestly, we'll talk through volunteer registration, accessing volunteer registration. A lot of you heard from us yesterday about that process, but we'll give another overview. We'll offer some recommendations, again, repeat from the first webinar on some opportunities that you can continue to promote your event. We will touch briefly upon some of the prep you can do in advance of your event and considerations on the day of. Anita will pick up there and offer some guidance to you all. Some of you had suggested that you'd like some more information, and Anita's here as our specialist. And then we'll offer some unsolicited advice, ways that we think that you can advance some organizational priorities, agency priorities through I Love My Park Day in particular. And then finally, we'll put forward just a few things that you can do after your event that we also do after your event, but it's just good to reaffirm. All right, now we're on to, oh, sorry, John, we're a little bit behind in the slides. Let's kick to the housekeeping chat. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so this is interactive. We're all friends here. Chime in if you have something to say. Use the chat. Rachel will be monitoring the chat, so I'm seeing everybody is here and happy, and we're excited for you to be here. But if you have any questions, we'll be stopping periodically throughout the webinar, so we'll look at the Q&A feature, we'll look at the chat feature. If we can't get to your question for some reason, because we know we take up a full hour and then some, we'll follow up with you. So if you have a question, include your name or your site name, your email, and somebody will get back to you with an answer. We will be recording this webinar, so you don't necessarily need to write everything down. And if you have to jump before it's over, that's okay. You can see the rest of it in the recording. All right, quickly for volunteer registration. Before I offer some of these exciting updates that are actually even higher than these numbers on the screen, most of you know that volunteers can sign up to participate in your event using our interactive map or by using that unique URL that was sent to you. We have shortened those links. We recognize that the main link is very long. So please, please continue to share out the shortened link if possible. Some of you have had some technical difficulties and we really apologize. We hope we've rectified them all, but please reach out to us if you're still having trouble with registration. So when volunteers find your event on our interactive map, they'll be able to see all of the event details that you included, or most of the event details you included in your registration form, but they will not be able to select from the different projects if you have several projects ongoing, unless you're a site that's registered more than one event per project. But you can pre-assign projects and email people ahead of time and kind of divvy up the workload. After a volunteer registers to participate in your event using the online form, they will receive a copy of that information in their email. So they have your host contact information, they have the meeting location, the time, date, etc. In previous years and this year too, sadly, we haven't found a way to offer group registration. We are asking everybody that is 18 and older to submit their own registration form, but we have included a question for minors. So adults are now able to register minors. So that's something to keep an eye on in those volunteer registration CSV files that we're sending, is that total registered column. So that would include the person who submitted the form. If their number is 30, that's 30 including themselves, 30 people including themselves. I just had a conversation with somebody about max capacity. Sadly, we exceeded max capacity for one of the sites by just a few people, but we are doing our best to monitor that max capacity number. We have to do it manually this year. We weren't able to automate that. So we have that count and we're monitoring it daily. We'll be in touch if you're getting close to hitting that max capacity. We will reach out and ask you what you want to do, if you can accommodate more people or if you want to funnel them to a different site. Last, certainly not least, most of you know that we require everyone to fill out a volunteer service agreement and sign off on the photo release. These documents are incredibly important, but they're only applicable for state lands. So we've had cemeteries participate in the past. We have municipal parks that are participating. Please ensure that on the day of your event, you have another waiver that is specific to your site. Anyone that registered their event before April 6th should receive a box of materials soon if you haven't already. And included in that box, you'll find a copy of a volunteer service agreement, and there is a QR code on the back. So people can scan the QR code, and that will take them to a very, very simple online form that asks the basic questions included in the VSA and asks them to sign off on that and the photo release. So that'll be good for any walk-ins as well. All right, the exciting updates that you can see on the screen already. We have 155 participating sites this year, which is amazing. That's up from 137 last year. We have 18 new sites that are participating as of this year. And 1,400 volunteers registered to participate. Last year, it was closer to 700. So we're doing really, really well this year. Everyone's jazzed up. Everyone I'm talking to is really excited. So continue to promote your event. We will continue to share out information. And with that, I'm going to move into just a quick update about accessing your volunteer registration information. So most of you would have heard from me yesterday. I sent a CSV file to the main point of contact listed in the registration form that contains all the volunteers registered to date. You can share that with the additional contact listed or reach out to us if you need us to send that list to the additional contact. Anyone that doesn't have anyone signed up to participate in their site should have also heard from me. That said, if you haven't heard from us one way or the other, and you're using our volunteer registration system, some of you are not. And so if that's your situation and you're using an alternative site, you wouldn't have heard from us. But again, if you're using our system and you haven't heard from us one way or the other, please reach out to us. We will get you your list or let you know if no one signed up to participate yet. For everyone that's returning after, for fifth, sixth year or so, this CSV file will not update in real time like the files you received in the past. So this is a static file. We will need to send an updated list, and we'll send an updated list once a week, next week. And then again, the following week leading up to your event, you'll receive it twice. So this information is, sadly, we have to do it manually for the most part, but we're happy to send you lists if you need this information outside of that cadence. We just ask that those requests are kept to a minimum just because it is a manual process this year and takes a little bit longer. All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan, who'll just go quickly over just reminders for promotion and outreach purposes.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Rebecca. If we do have any friends groups from state parks and historic sites on here, just a little plug to promote the Park and Trail Partnership Grants Program. While you're doing your work on I Love My Park Day, if there are needs that your site needs funding, for example, please reach out. The grants open in May, so keep those in mind. Talk to your site managers about them. So with just 2 weeks to go, PTNY, state parks, and the DEC, we're all working together to promote I Love My Park Day and all events at the statewide level. These three organizations, we put out a press release over a week ago, and hopefully you've started to promote your event using the registration link and the graphics that were shared. We do encourage you to consider making a Facebook event, hang up the flyer that you received, and print some additional copies to distribute at local places. Also, please reach out to your elected officials. While Parks and Trails New York, while we do send communication to the legislator, there's nothing better than getting a personal invite from your site. And so there is a template letter in the Google Drive to help you with this. And if you do get a response from them and they do decide to attend, please let us know. We'd love to know, possibly even bring one of our staff members to attend. So yeah, reach out to the 2025 volunteers also from previous I Love My Park days and invite them back. Also, seek in-kind donations from your local businesses for snacks, drinks, and other supplies. I'd like to take just a quick moment too to give a shout out to Diane and the team from the Old Croton Aqueduct. Their work is displayed on the on screen here beside the official I Love My Park Day flyer. There's their site-specific flyers and signage were created and were being placed around her site. The Friends of the Old Croton Aqueduct, they're also sharing information about I Love My Park Day and the registration link on their website. So they've done a very great job. So kudos to them. And you don't have to create a constant flurry of posts on your own. Feel free to, and we encourage you to repost and share the content from PTNY, from the DEC, from OPRHP to keep your socials fresh. And of course, you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and reshare our content. When you do post on social media, make sure to use the hashtags I Love My Park Day and the hashtag ILMPD and tag PTNY, state parks, and the DEC as well. You can use the sample graphics that we've created that are accessible they're in the Google Drive there under the organizer resources. And working together, we can create the buzz that I Love My Park Day deserves and secure enough volunteers to support the amazing projects that you're hosting. Okay, requests for hosts. Before we dive into some event planning considerations, we do have two requests that we want to remind hosts about. And, oh, sorry. Um, Please send your favorite photos to Rebecca at PTNY. There's also Jewel Slade from State Parks and then Aaron Sauceville from the DEC. These photos really they help us to highlight your achievements during the event and they help us to promote future I Love My Park days. We really like candid photos, group photos, any photos of all different kinds of projects and people really help us to showcase the variety of projects. While we encourage you to use and share these photos to celebrate your event and your volunteers, sharing these photos with us will also allow us to broadcast your wins to a larger audience. Let's see, let me just get to data collection. PTNY will be asking hosts to help us with our data collection effort again this year. In your packet of materials, you'll find a data collection form. There's also an online version as well. And here's a high-level overview of the questions on the survey, which are mostly numerical or in short answer. For example, we'll ask you the name of the site and your name as the site leader, which helps us to know exactly which site this data is coming from. Next, we want to know just how many people came out to help. There's a space to break it down between adults and kids, so just add those up to the total number of volunteers. It's very helpful for us to see the level of community involvement across different sites. Now, for the trash and the recycling questions, we've given some kind of rough weight estimates for different types of bags and items. So, you don't need to bring a scale with you. Just count how many big or small trash bags you have, recycling bags, tires, any kinds of items that you pick up. And we even have space to estimate the weight of unusual items that don't fall into a category. And essentially just add up the total weight and plastic percentages by taking your best guess. This really helps us to understand what kinds of waste are most common. There's also a spot to write how much ground you've covered. If you know the distance, like, how many feet of trail you've cleaned, that's great. If not, just kind of estimate the area. We also want to know more about the projects you're doing at your site. Are you planting trees or shrubs? And a little shout out to everyone who will be partnering with the DEC to assist with the 25 million trees by 2033 initiative. Whether you're cleaning up debris, other litter, maintaining trails, pulling invasive species, etc. If you're doing plantings and have the number of plants and types of species, please include that information as well. It will be very helpful to have the acreage impacted, if that's possible, or how many feet of trail that you've covered. Finally, getting us back to survey should be relatively painless. Please take a photo of your completed physical sheet, which you'll find in your box of materials, or fill out our online survey using the QR code on that same sheet. We recommend trying to fill the survey out as soon as the event wraps up so the details are still fresh in your mind. Data is more than just numbers, of course. The more information that you provide, the better stories that we can tell. This helps us to secure future funding for this event and supports our marketing and storytelling efforts. You bring high quality work and a level of commitment and dedication to these efforts. So collecting data is just a way to help you to continue to do that. And so we'll pause here now for questions, and I'll forward to the next slide here if there are any questions in the chat, or you can type right into the chat there and we'll scroll through.
Yeah, I think the two that came in, John, I hope I'm not echoing anymore. It looks like I was echoing.
No, no, you're sounding nice and clear.
Alrighty. The two questions we received. So the first question, will we receive an updated list post-event with a final number that includes walk-ins? You will receive a list on May 1st, but the walk-ins that show up on the day of that sign up using the QR code found in the volunteer service agreement, we can certainly compile that information into the final list. So long way about it. Yes, if they sign up using the online form, we can certainly send an updated list that captures those people as well. Next question, where could we find more information regarding the Park and Trail Partnership Grant? All right, the Park and Trail Partnership Grant is an interesting one. So this grant is only eligible to nonprofits that have an active MOU with state parks or DEC. So the event is only restricted to certain eligible applicants. That said, we can share more information. There's certainly information on our website about the Park and Trail Partnership Grant, but just know that it is limited to those entities. And before I move on, Dave Walter asked, you said that you were going to send out a CSV file twice the week of the event besides Friday Way On. When is it planned? The other one's planned for April 28th, so that's a Tuesday. I figured I'd give enough space if people are going shopping for snacks and supplies in the beginning of the week. You'll have your list at that point, and then maybe budget for a few extra people that roll in over the next couple of days. All right. Since we're a little bit on time, I'm going to keep chugging along, especially because we'd love Anita to take the spotlight. All right, John, let's move to some pre-event planning. We know that a lot of this pre-event planning is going to save us time and stress on the day of the event. I know PTNY is always pre-planning. So provide more information to registered volunteers. Repeating yourself is okay. We always get emails asking the same questions about the information that volunteers have in their confirmation email. So obviously repeating this information, there's no harm. You can remind them to add it to their calendar, add the event to their calendar. We have this add event option that will put I Love My Park Day on May 2nd on their personal calendar. It'll block off, I think, 9 to 5, but that's okay. It's a good reminder for people. You can provide people with attachments or hyperlinks to your website about your friends group, upcoming events. Find just ways to engage with them. I think that pre-planning goes a long way because then you meet them on the day of and you build that relationship. It's nice to have that kind of community engagement component leading up to the event, and then you kind of know each other already. Check-in. We often have a lot of hands on deck if you've ever been to one of our PTNY events for check-in purposes. So preparing your participant list ahead of time, either if you're going to have your paper copy ready or even available on your phone, both good options. Who will be checking in volunteers? If you have 1 to 3 people, that's ideal for greeting, checking in, directing volunteers to the various sites. If you have a table to put out totes and stickers, if you've received them, and any other swag you'll have to give away. And certainly the biggest thing for your events, having been to some of your sites, is where is check-in? Can people get to it easy? You know your site really well, but some of you have really big sites. So use directional signage. We have a template for that. For the people, we've talked about this, that have not registered online, they should sign up one way or the other, whether that's a paper sign up or using our online QR code to the form. And that's probably an easy way to just collect and consolidate all the information in one place. You can print that VSA that was included in attachment in your email, so you have additional copies that they can fill out on site. We had somebody chatting about the lack of self-service at their site. So that QR code is not going to work at their site. If that's your scenario as well, print copies. I'll send you copies. I can go into the office anytime between now and then, and I'm happy to print some copies and send them to you. So just reach out. The check-in process could go easier if you have maps of the site available, if your site is big. Setting up stations or work zones that can direct people to the various places that they'll need to go, helps people budget for walking, distance, time, etc. And then clear instructions. The clearer instructions that you can offer, the better. All right, so after everyone's checked in, everyone kind of knows where they're headed. We always encourage somebody to kick off your event. Whether you have a megaphone or somebody just can speak pretty loudly, kick off your event, share some information about your site, talk about your friends group. You're the spotlight. This is your event. We always have Paul kicking off our events, and he's so naturally suited to do this. But it's just a good way to rally everybody. That said, you have everybody gathered. Try to grab a photo. We love these group photos. Everybody loves the group photos. And so before everyone disperses, is too tired, grab that photo, take photos before, take them after, post them in real time. We'll be looking for these photos. You can tag us. You have our tags. You have the hashtags. But we always go looking. We will ask you for them. They're just good promotional material for after the event for sure, and then leading up to 2027. Although I don't want to be thinking about 2027. All right, quickly. So if you have a lot of projects planned, determine how many people you need per project. So that'll allow you to kind of allocate your people power to the different projects and make sure that you have enough people to cover them. You might need to adjust depending on your numbers. If you have, more than you expected, less than you expected. And then how I'd say it, handling different kinds of groups. Me and my son went to Brunel Park last year for Wildlife Day, and it was so wonderful because most of their projects involved dirt. And so I would describe this as rolling out the dirt carpet for my son because I knew he was safe and set up and ultimately playing in the dirt the whole time and happy. And it's as simple as that, finding other projects that are kind of suiting children and different kinds of groups. Last, before I hand it off to Anita, is any sort of safety, risk management, preparedness that you can consider in advance, making sure all of your tools and resources are easily accessible, labeled, accounted for, so no one's walking away from them. Parking in restrooms, not necessarily fitting in this group perfectly, but sort of. If you have sufficient parking, where are people parking? Are you going to transport people to different work sites if the walk is long? Maybe setting that expectation in advance when you reach out to volunteers if you know that they're going to be walking pretty far from a parking area to a site. I know that in previous years we have fully supported waiving entrance fees for volunteers, but that decision is not up to us. If you're not charging a vehicle entrance fee, make sure that the toll operator, whomever is at the entrance, can determine who is there for your event, whether or not that's just the sign-in sheet you have, or if somebody mentions I love my park day. And then restroom access. This is huge. So if you have porta-johns, if you have restrooms, make sure that's pretty clear to people. And if you don't, that's okay. Not every site does. Just make that clear. And then emergency and backup plans. So this is important. You have access to everyone's emergency contact information, and we hope you'll never have to use it. But you do have it in the event something does go wrong, that you can get in touch with them. But make sure somebody on staff is designated to know where this information is and would therefore make that phone call if need be. All right, now that we're just a little over, I think we're going to hand it off to Anita. We are so happy to have Anita as our specialist, working with several members on staff to make our events and our programming more inclusive and accessible to everybody. So we wanted to share Anita with this audience, and we're really excited to see how many people have already considered accommodations that they'll make at their sites, and those that have suggested that they'd like some guidance. And I hope you're on the call today, because we have Anita here today to talk a little bit about that. And with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Anita. Welcome. John, if you want to let Anita share her screen, I think she can.
All right. Well, it's wonderful to see you all. It's wonderful to be with you. And it's fantastic to see the map of New York State and how many events, how many volunteers are going to be really impacting our parks in just 2 weeks. So I'm happy to be with you all as you're in this final planning stage for the year events. And, you know, congratulations to Parks and Trails New York for making inclusion of people with disabilities a prime value that they're building within their organization. And you all on the call today, and those of your teams who will be involved in this, you're part of that as well. And it's extraordinary, and your communities thank you. And I certainly give you a shout out for being a part of that process. So I know that you have all received some preliminary information. So as you've been signing up for your park day, and preliminary information regarding inclusion and accessibility. And you were asked, you know, what kinds of plans do you have? And what we wanted to do today is give you a chance to ask particular questions. So that could be anything. We have this, we're not sure what to do. We don't have cell reception, so we don't know how to use our apps for communication we were going to use. So anything you have, I encourage you to throw it into the chat now, so that those questions can be asked during this time together. But I thought what I would do is, for those of you who maybe didn't watch the video link that had been provided, or you're just wanting to absorb it now that you're really thinking about it, I'm going to pull up a few conversation points to get us started, but certainly your questions are the most important. So I am going to share, because I am a very visual learner type of person. I do well when I am presented with something that I can see. And just give me a second, because the one thing I can't do is talk and find the button for the slideshow. So here we go. So you'll see some similarity when you do go back to that training, because that training was really fast-paced, about 45 minutes, but really put a lot of things into it. The key is that there's a lot of people that you'll see in these photos that are part of potentially your community, where your I Love My Park Day is going to be. And a little bit about us, of why this matters to us, is because we do believe that these spaces where fun things happen, like parks, are where community is built and where we're centered around that sense of being together. And so RAA's mission is to work within those spaces. Parks and Trails New York is experiencing that in our collaborative partnership right now, where we can open these doors, particular doors, to everyone. It's important to know I think this middle statistic here is one that drives me, is that it's 1 in 4 of us. So 1 in 4 of us has a disability. So that could be one in every other family. It's just that close. It's that personal. And I don't think any of you would say no to any of the people you're seeing that wanted to come be a part of your I Love My Park Day and help create a better Earth. So the questions then become, how do you do that? How can you do that? What have you not thought of yet? Some of you may be, you've already thought about this. You've already put things in place. We would certainly want you to put that in chat and say, hey, here's what we're doing around that issue, so that you end up learning from each other. But sometimes it's just because you haven't yet thought about, well, I don't know how I would help any individual that I'm seeing in some of these pictures to be a part of our particular day. But I invite you to think of it as a party. So your event in 2 weeks is one big fabulous party. And think of all of the things that Rebecca just went through and Jonathan went through are your pre-planning for your party. So do you have enough trash bags for people? Where's the dirt? Where are the plants and trees that you're going to be planting? Where are the tools for all of your party activities? And then what's really cool is to start thinking about who your guests might be. Will we have kids there? Will we have adults? What's the age range we typically look for? How are we preparing for everybody that comes? So you're already party programmers. If you've done a I Love My Park Day before, the question for you, particularly that you're being encouraged to do, is, are you also thinking about how you can prep for some of the individuals you're seeing in some of the photos? So my party picture is this crew. This is going to be your crew that's going to show up as part of your park day. And some of what you can see is a physical mobility device being used. And if you look closely, you might see non-wheeled physical mobility devices. And then you don't know about the rest of the people and what kinds of cognitive or sensory or emotional function that may also be happening with some of those individuals. But you as a party planner, you want to be ready for everybody. And it's this idea that there's really nobody you want to turn away that wants to do your park day. So the other thing is you don't want them sitting in the parking lot while everybody else goes and does that work day. So I like thinking of inclusion as a party. I love thinking that all of you are going to think of inclusion as a party in 2 weeks, and that we can explicitly invite people with disabilities to this event day. So I wanted to show this visual for just getting a sense of what inclusion can feel like when it's either not thought about or maybe added on. It sort of feels, maybe some of you are thinking, well, it's kind of last minute. It's 2 weeks before the event. What can I really do? Well, that's the middle one. It's very functional. It still gets somebody up those steps. Doesn't have all the railings that we might want to have for safety, but it's functional. The one on the left, the blue strip there, not useful at all. Not a good representation of what inclusion and accessibility is supposed to be. I can't even imagine why that exists. But the one on the right is certainly when it's been very intentional. And Parks and Trails New York is really looking to have that kind of intentionality across everything over the next couple of years, and you're part of that. So we're going to focus on maybe removing things that look like number one, focusing on things that we can put in for this event, and then really shifting gears in each successive year of this event so that it's more and more inclusive. I'm not going to pull out a ton of particular topics, but I wanted to I want to stop for a second and see if there's any questions popping up yet. But I was also thinking about Rebecca's, some of that pre-planning information that's there. parking, thinking about, if you look at my party group that I had for you there, where are they going to be traversing, like literally from parking lot to participate in your activity? And then we're going to touch back on restrooms, and then a couple of little tidbits for just how your day might flow that you could be more inclusive. So that was my quick plan for just today's short conversation. I would encourage you, though, to get the full scope, because it also comes with more pictures, more samples and examples. So if you have any questions in particular, please throw those in. So parking is big. There may not be much you can... So everybody just think about where you're going to have people park. And also, where are you telling people this information about parking? So those two things. Where are you providing the description of that parking lot? So if you already have a place for that, I want you in the next 2 weeks, in the next couple of days, to go to that list of information about parking and embellish it a little bit more. Are there any accessible parking spaces? Are there any, if there are, or if there's not very many, could you cordon off a couple more and designate them as accessible parking spaces, so that those are usually closer to the route of travel? Can you describe your parking lot with a picture and some descriptive information, so people, when they're reading it on your event page, know where they can park? And if they had an accessible van, they would be concerned about that ramp coming down out of the van and having enough space for being able to get in and out of their vehicle. So you see how not providing that information could be a barrier to somebody, but providing it, you are increasing the accessibility and the inclusiveness of your event. There is one question in the chat I heard. Is that something you wanted to throw my way now?
Yeah, Anita, we've been asked if the task is to clean trash from a wooded area. Do you have any suggestions on how to include?
Fabulous. I thank that person for going right to your description of your event. So looking at the photos that y'all have already provided today, I saw some pathways that lined the wooded areas, and people were picking up trash or maybe pulling invasive species. So if it's just a complete disembark from trail and go out forth into the woods, my question would be, is there any route of travel that is devoid of fallen trees and logs and debris and leaves? And that's the route that you would be thinking of for anyone who does come that has any mobility, balance kinds of things. So that's a lot of people that could potentially benefit. And what I would say is, have that list of the options for people on the day. I assume you all meet in a big group and you have a big rally and then you send them out. So no matter what they're doing, pushing the wheelbarrow, forking the stuff out of the wheelbarrow, or loading it up, or loading trash bags, or hauling trash bags over to the other side, digging, holding buckets while others dig. There are many. If you think about my group, think literally about getting the job done and who could do what. So any of those individuals in that photo would be able to very easily help out. I'm just going to go back so we have that image to look at. So there they are. So this is the group. You've got woods, and my question is, do you have any? It doesn't have to be paved. Is there any more or less level-ish pathway that goes alongside your wooded area that they could also focus on cleaning up? And that would be what you would shout out to folks and say, we've got the corridor that way and we've got the woods, pick which one works best for you. So hopefully that answers some of that question of I'm so aware this is in 2 weeks. Down the line, this would be something you could cultivate and be very strategic about, so that you have multiple access routes, and some of them are more free of barriers than others. I'm going to go with that a little bit. So you have your parking that you're going to work on. You have that route of travel just to the convening point where you're all going to gather. And you're going to be looking for what that route of access is. And the key here, I would love if what you do in the next 5 days is go understand your space and write up a rich description of what it is. What is your space? Because when you say, what if ours is a wooded area? What I don't know is if there's any pathways through the wooded area that someone could roll on. And so what a rich description does, and I'm just going to scoot through because I have a sample of what I'm looking for. So this description on the screen now is what you write ahead of time. So I'm going to describe what the parking's like. I'm going to describe, I think this is for a music festival, I'm going to describe what the access to the location is, and a couple of the other pieces. For y'all, I would have you just literally describe what is available during the event. If you have if you have a park where there is pavement going into a paved parking lot, and then there's lots of grass, but there's pathways that roam through, and the goal is to just clean up that park. Maybe some people are going to go over to a beach if there's any kind of beachy area, or a forest. You describe it all so that me and my family know ahead of time kind of what we might be doing. And then we would choose once we're there and say, okay, let's take that route. I wish I had pulled up Genesee Land Trust. It does a lot with the outdoors, and it's nature, and it wasn't paved. And so what they've done is just provide rich descriptions. Maybe I can send the link out, Rebecca, you can give to folks to some of those, but GeneseeLandTrust.org, and understand how to describe your experience from that physical aspect of it. And the second part of that is the jobs and positions, the roles that you have. So some of you are going to be planting trees and shrubs. Some of you will be removing invasive species. Describe the kinds of things that will be happening so that, again, someone can say, well, I'm going to do the pulling of all those invasive species, but my mother-in-law is going to come, and I'm going to have her remain out on the path holding the bag, and I'm going to go fill the bag. So she's got her role, I've got my role, and together we're going to get you 5 bags of invasive species by the end of the day. We both feel included. We both feel like we're working. We're going to get a little dirty, and you've accomplished your party. Your tools will be, the reachers, the grabbers, picker-uppers, those kinds of things that people can share out and say, well, I can pick up any bit of trash from my scooter or my wheelchair. I just need that long reacher. So having different kinds of tools available for people is very helpful. Any other questions at the moment? Okay. So another component is get back to this. So let's look at it this way too, a good setup. When I say plan your party and you've got 2 weeks, I think the key for me is these are the kinds of questions people are sitting at home asking. Before you're going to be putting out your social media posts, they're going to look great and sound great, but these are the questions people are going to be asking. So how many of these kinds of questions can you go ahead and answer? Can you put on your description page right now in the next 3 days as you're sending out your blasts? Where do I park? That's a how far is parking from where I'm going? Rebecca mentioned maybe tell people what their traverse is going to be like. Are you expecting them to go on a 3-mile swath? Is it round trip or is it 3 miles out and 3 miles back? That's huge. If I use a powered device, mobility device, I need to know if my battery's going to hold up. If 3 miles is probably fine. 6 miles, I'm probably going to run out of juice. Are you going to have an interpreter for that big kickoff section so I get the instructions? Because I'm deaf. Oh, okay. So how could we solve that? How could we have printed instructions? How can we have, see if we can get an interpreter? If you're going to try that, I would really encourage you to do that this week so that you can see if you get an interpreter in place. Do I have to hike the whole way? Do I have to pull a certain amount of stuff? Can I stop when I'm tired? I know the answers. These are probably yes. You don't have to hike the whole way. There's turnaround points. There's whatever. But if you haven't described it to people, they don't know these answers. And that can be very much make or break for people to come. Restrooms, it's important if you don't have restroom capacity, as Rebecca said, make sure people know ahead of time. And if you do, describe what kind of bathroom you have. So if it's just a non-ADA compliant bathroom, that impacts people incredibly if they're still not going to be able to access it. So these kinds of descriptions, these real answers, are very key to what for your event that people would be asking ahead of time. And then as you're promoting it out, you can just simply say, do you have any questions about accessibility? Call Sarah. And you've got 2 weeks to do that, to be able to put that up there. If you have any questions about accessibility, call and give that contact name. And that is showing that you very intentionally are planning for people to be there that might have accessibility questions. Let's see. I've talked about that event description, linking to it. You've already been encouraged to link people back to your event page. These are the kinds of pieces, again, that really help. If we encourage you when you're doing that description to not say it's an easy walk, it's an easy anything, because you don't know somebody's traversing mobility. So it might be hard. They might have just had hip surgery. Nothing's going to be easy. So you just describe it as what it is. It is, mostly flat. It's about a half a mile. It's a loop. It's 10, 20, 150 yards from the designated parking area. Give people, or it's trails with tons and tons of roots. Okay. At least I know it's not a firm dirt trail, and lots of roots might impact how I decide to attend that day. But with no description, people don't stand a chance to have what they need to be able to participate. If you can add anything to your flyer this week so that it goes out with anything, including even if you have that accessibility icon that you see on this page, and you were to just say, use that icon and say, have accessibility questions, contact us today. That going out on your flyer would be a huge indication that you're interested in providing those kinds of helpful pieces for folks to be able to participate, because it simply could be me and my mother-in-law who want to come, and I just don't know. Should I bring her, have her choose to bring her manual wheelchair, or maybe she's going to want the scooter. I won't know unless I know a little bit more about what I'm expected to do on the other end, on your end of things. So these kinds of tools really help with that piece. Rebecca, stop me if there's a question coming in. Okay.
We're okay for now, Anita, but I'm sure we'll
Okay.
get a lot after too.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to put a few more things out there because, again, all of this helpful resources are in that training link that you all have. But I wanted to just spark some conversation this morning, so I'm going to probably stop in a second. I did want to mention, because we referred to it earlier, cell service not being an option. But what if you do have self-service? If you have cell service, you can add an app to all of your programmers' phones, so that if someone is deaf, you would be able to have that conversation if you don't have a sign language interpreter. The Talk to Deaf app is one that I just keep it on mine just for day-to-day interactions in the universe. I never know. And my sign language is rather rusty, so at least I know I could pull out that app. And as you see on the screen, it allows me to type in something and allows that person to type back a response to it. So you get a nice exchange. Those of you who don't have cell service, bring a notepad and a pen. Just have it in your pocket no matter what. Just have it be part of what happens on your day. Because if someone does show up, it's really nice for you to have that intentional conversation with that person. And I will say this, because I've been to some clean sweep types of events where that rally, it's really impactful if you can hear it. And you have, 30, 40, 50 people who are all really excited. They just want to get the gear and run. They're not necessarily listening to you while you're talking and doing all of your thanks and instructions for the day. So it's something that you can get off of Amazon, probably have it delivered tomorrow, and it's less than $30. But these little amplification devices do help some, or if you have your own amplification and you think, oh, I'll just yell, people can hear me. It really helps your event feel more inclusive for everybody if people can hear it, and it shows your intentionality when you do something like this. So these are really great tools to have out on the trails with you, or in that beginning part of your kickoff, and any wrap up that you do at the end.
Anita, we did get a question similar to that amplification. So we got asked if there's a registrant indicating that they'd like the site to provide sensory protective personal equipment or personal protective equipment. I don't believe this is a resource available at the Public Land Trust. Would it be improper for us to ask this person to bring their own?
Have they indicated, I guess my question back, have they indicated exactly what they're looking for? So they're looking for, that's my curiosity question.
Yeah, I'm going to allow Casey to talk. Casey, if you wanted to come off mute, I believe.
Sure. So the registration accessibility combination that this person filled out says, we asked if they want any accommodations. They said, yes, can you provide sensory PPE, work gloves for size small, and I might not be able to withstand the entire event. I might only stay for 2 hours due to my health. I'd also appreciate if I can stay away from any loud machines. So between all of that, I'm not quite sure what it is that they're looking for us to provide either.
Yeah. So I think that's a great question for everybody to consider. Pretend you all got that request, and then think about your event. Are you pulling invasive species, and people might have a sensitivity to getting rashes from those kinds of things? So are you alerting them that could happen? Are you providing gear that protects them in any way? I guess, work gloves and things like that. If I've realized not everybody has them. They may not be. Oops, sorry. I think my screen is going a little wild there. So I think the gloves part, if you can just spring for some Dollar Tree gloves that allow you to have that, maybe a box of the latex gloves that they could layer, so they could put that under, and then a pair of just inexpensive work gloves. So their question about length of stay, this is a great one for all of you to put in your description. Does a person have to stay the entire time? I don't know if you have parameters on that. People can't leave. I think in my mind you would say, oh, sure, that's fine. But you should say it out loud. Say it in that description. If you need to leave before the end of our event today, that's fine. Please come check out, whatever you need them to do. But that is a concern for people. Fatigue is a part of a lot of disabilities, and so by saying it out front, it gives that expectation to people. Yes, come to the party, stay as long as you can. And if masks are an issue, again, having a box of masks and a box of gloves is potentially something that's an easy get for any of the groups in terms of cost, and just you've got 2 weeks. That addresses the PPE specifically. Work gloves are great. Maybe your group can just have a bucket of everybody bringing their spare gloves that they're willing to have go out. And I'm thinking like 5 or 6 pairs, not 50. So I think that addressed all of the ones that, the loud machinery. So another one that you can describe the event scenario. We're going to have tractors going the whole entire time. Not my space, don't want to go. If you then have the tractor area and the back area, you're going to let her know there's a back area that's away from the tractor area. Something that you could put in the event description itself, in case somebody else has the same question. Great questions, Casey. Thanks for bringing those up. And a great example of how, some of you probably maybe thought it was the trail that was going to be the issue, but we have this other layer of sensory experience.
Thanks, Anita. We have just about 2 minutes left, so I
yeah.
would encourage anyone to definitely ask questions now. Anita, your slides, will share that after the presentation. We'll have access to the slides.
They're all in that video link that you had sent. None of those were new. I had just put a few up in the front. So all of that information is available in that video link that I believe you gave to folks. And then I'll send my information. Feel free to send my information out to everybody if they have specific questions that come up, like Casey's, where you're trying to be responsive to somebody.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you so much for all of your help, your guidance, and support. So that offer stands. You can email us. You can email me directly. You should all have my email by now. My email is in the chat. If you have a situation similar to Casey's where you have a very, very specific request and you want to chat with Anita, send it to me. You can send it directly to Anita, obviously, but we're happy to troubleshoot. And Casey, if you want to talk further, I don't know if it warrants like an email to the person. I don't know, Anita, if you recommend that person making it clear, like you should come introduce yourself and I'm happy to chat, and like then who they are when they get there. They feel like somebody again is waiting for them, that you are expecting them.
Right. It's that. So now you have your party, you put the invitation out, and people are coming, and they want to meet you because you're their person. So absolutely, Rebecca, that's part of that welcome mat experience.
Fantastic. All right, with just a minute to go, Nicole, swag, materials and boxes. So we have boxes going out over the last week or so. I know a lot of you have asked about t-shirts. You will not be receiving t-shirts this year, sadly. Fortunately, we have decided to make that decision based on cost and environmental considerations. So no t-shirts this year, but we do have reusable tote bags and stickers going to all host sites that registered before April 6th. And so most of the sites, I'm happy to say, will receive something. We have tried our best to accommodate those max and anticipated volunteer numbers. So You should have all received an email from me that lets you know how many materials you'll get. So keep an eye, look through your email. Email me if you didn't get that. And you registered before April 6th. That's big because we had to provide our list on April 6th. So if you didn't get that email and you know you registered your event before that time frame, message me and I'd be happy to send you that information. At the 1 o'clock hour, I want to be mindful of lunch and everyone getting on with their day. Keep an eye out for an email from us. We will send you an email undoubtedly next week with another updated volunteer list, but we'll also send some emails in between. Keep in touch. You'll have my contact. You'll have John's contact, Anita's contact, Shayna's contact. Any sort of questions come up, we are happy to chat with you. Any volunteer questions that come in, we try to connect the volunteer to you. So we're not going to try to answer questions about your event. So our process has just been Rachel will respond to the volunteer and then connect them to the host. But thank you for spending your lunch hour with us, and we are very much looking forward to seeing pictures from your events. And take care all.